Yesterday, in the House of Parliament, the Honourable Nigel Clarke gave a breakdown of the 2020-2021 budget, his second budget since he entered into the politics, I should say. And here he is this morning to tell us more about what happened yesterday. Morning, sir. Welcome to
Morning.
Welcome,
Morning,
Dr. Clarke.
Morning.
I want to
Thank
start
you.
by saying what a presentation. And I must tell you, you are getting much better in the House of Representatives. When we talk about presentation, it was very colorful, but a very serious presentation. And so we want to break down the budget here on Smart Jamaica for our people, 2+ million watching. And I think the first question is, what is the education? I hear you've put most of the money into education.
Yes.
Right? What is the outcome and why?
Yes.
What kind of education or development with this budget will we see?
So, education has the largest dollar increase in the budget, increase of $5 billion, and we'll be spending $117 billion in education, the largest allocation outside of the Ministry of Finance, and representing 22% of non-debt expenditure. Jamaica has been indebted for a long time, and 6 or 7 years ago, we spent twice as much on interest as we did on education. Thankfully, as we've been paying our debt down, that ratio has been changing, and very soon we'll be in a position where we'll be spending more on education than on interest. Today, the ratio is down to about 1.2 or 1.1 or something like that. Importantly, in education, what I announced yesterday, the primary and secondary school upgrade program, where, as Minister Samuda has mentioned, we'll be taking schools off of the shift system. There's a $1.1 billion allocated for that this year, and over the next 3 years, $14 billion to take 54 schools off the shift system. The shift system will be no more. And that requires building new classrooms, new laboratory spaces, and new infrastructure at schools, so that in one in one shift, so to speak, you can accommodate all students.
Okay, and the Student Loan Bureau now,
On the Student Loan Bureau, what we've done there is to extend the moratorium on repayments. Up until now, you graduate in June with your student loan, and by January you have to start paying back. And we know, taking into account that people, the adjustment to work life, the initial expenses that you might have, the time it might take you to find that job that you want. We don't want you to be under pressure to take a job that you don't want. You want to be able to wait and to get what you want. So we've extended the time period that you have to start repaying from the 6 months to 14 months.
Okay.
So you pay nothing for 14 months after graduation. The 3,000 or 4,000 people on student loan will be graduating, who graduated in June last year, therefore do not have to start paying back until September of this year. And similarly, those who graduate in June 2020 don't have to start repaying until September 2021.
Okay. Thanks for that. I'm sure some students will be happy to hear that this morning.
GCT, sir.
Yes.
You've reduced that.
Yes.
And this is my word, but you will lose $14 billion. How do you make that up?
Okay, so we unveiled a tax cut package of $18 billion, right? This is only the second time in Jamaica's history that we've had a net tax cut. Last year it was $14 billion, this year $18 billion. We are able to finance that, Neville, because we also announced that in this upcoming financial year, we'll be paying back $73 billion of debt. We've been able to raise that money through our policy choices of listing companies on the Jamaica Stock Exchange and using those proceeds for debt repayment, as well as reintegrating public bodies into their parent ministries. What we had for decades was public bodies just proliferating, growing in number, accumulating balances and resources that were used to, let's just say, accumulating balances and resources while the people of Jamaica are saddled under the weight of high debt. Our policy has been to bring those public bodies back in, to divest ones that we don't need to own, and we're deploying those resources. We have accumulated $73 billion of resources, and so the debt that's maturing this year, rather than going back and saying to people, look, can I borrow from you to pay you back? We're going to them this year and saying, for the $73 billion that I have to pay you back, here it is, take it.
Yeah.
Now, having done that, we bring our debt to GDP ratio down by a further 3.3 points, and we're forecasted to be below 84% by the end of the upcoming financial year. You remember we were at 145 a few years ago. And that acceleration in debt payment gives us the fiscal space to reduce the primary balance, i.e. to reduce the amount of fiscal savings that we need in the year to apply towards debt.
Yeah.
That reduction has allowed us to finance $18 billion of tax cuts, of which the principal element is a reduction in the standard rate of GCT from 16.5% to 15%.
Right.
And let me add, Neville, before, I know you want to come in, but let me add, that is the first time since we implemented GCT 30 years ago that we are reducing the standard rate without at the same time introducing other taxes to finance it.
Yeah. This is just on a side, because you mentioned debt. Are we finished with the IMF?
Yes.
Totally. We don't need to go back there.
We are outside of a program relationship with the IMF. Okay? So like there are 188 countries in the world who are members of the IMF. And as a member of the IMF, we contribute money to them.
Right.
And they do an annual review of Jamaica. But we are not in a program relationship with them.
With the IMF.
We graduated from that.
Beautiful.
And which is a major policy accomplishment that we're very proud of, and it's attributable to the work of Jamaicans and everybody who contributed.
All right, Dr. Clarke, Minister, I would like to find out, for the people and for myself, where do we get the money from to create the budget? I think it's important to understand where the public funding comes from.
Sure. So, we believe in public education, and, we published a citizen's guide to the budget. Last year, we published, it was the first time coming from the ministry that we did that, and this year, a second time. The money for the budget is raised from the people, from taxation, and there are many forms of taxation. You have taxation on income. People pay income tax on their earnings. Companies pay income tax. You have taxes at the border, customs duties, and so on. You have fees that you pay for government services. You have taxes on consumption. All of those come in, and we have revenue. And this year, we are estimating to have revenue in the order of in excess of, this financial year, ending, 1920, about $577 billion in revenue.
Okay.
And what we have to do now is allocate that revenue across a wide variety of areas that provide service to the Jamaican people.
The Jamaican people, as I say, sometimes, when you're on the ground, the Jamaican people cannot feel wealth creation of the country. And although sometimes we hear, the government's doing well and we're doing well as a country, some people don't feel it. And I think it's time to have that real conversation as to a man that knows numbers, that is on the ground, a Jamaican. What do we, the people on the ground, need to do to build wealth?
Yeah. But let's talk about that a little bit. One of the things that we're particularly proud of, Empress, is that over the last 4 years, 100,000 jobs have been created in Jamaica.
Oh.
Now, if you think about 100,000 jobs, how many national stadiums you would need for that? Just picture it, right? Yeah. Let's say, call it 3, right? The national stadium filled 3 times. That's the number of persons who were not in jobs, who over the last 4 years have gotten jobs. Yeah. Right? The basis of being able to, create wealth and assets for yourself is having an income. And we're very proud that 100,000 people have an income who did not have before.
We have to go, sir.
Yeah.
You mentioned that most of your money went to education, coronavirus.
Yes.
I suspect they're going to come knocking at your door.
So what we announced yesterday, Neville, is that the primary balance reduction that we are financing by the historic pay down in debt, the acceleration of debt repayment, has allowed us space of $25 billion. We've used $18 billion of that space to give taxes back to the Jamaican people, because we believe that there is a moral imperative to do that. We have done well as a country. We have paid down our debt. We're ahead of schedule. The Jamaican people are the ones who made this all possible. And so we believe that morally our duty is to give back. So 18 of the 25 we have given back. And we have created, Neville and Empress, a historic contingency of $7 billion. Should the need arise, and God forbid that it doesn't and we don't need to use it, but should the need arise, we stand ready with $7 billion that's available for us to counteract the effects, the health and potentially economic and other effects of this virus. So unlike previous times, Neville, when we faced global risks and global crises, this time Jamaica has the policy depth and flexibility and dexterity and strength to respond and to say, look, you know, it's not here yet. It's here in terms of one case, but we don't have a crisis in Jamaica yet, and hopefully we don't. But if we do, we have put aside the ability to draw on $7 billion to be able to address it.
And we have to leave it there, Dr. Clarke. However, next time I see you on television, I promise you I'm going to ask you about reparations as an argument for economic development of this nation.
Happy
Since
to
the
have a
government has a
conversation.
National Council on Reparation, I would like to hear how the mathematician.
Well, yes, it doesn't happen to be my portfolio area, but I'm happy to have that conversation with you
Hopefully.
anytime.
I was impressed
Excellent.
yesterday, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Quite animated.
Yes, no, you
especially the part that the no peas. I enjoyed that.
But that's
part.
important.
Yep.
What we are doing, Neville and Empress, is for all Jamaicans.
It's for Jamaica,
It's not for this
JLP.
P or
No,
for that
man.
P. We want everybody to benefit. We want everybody to get ahead. Because we are moving the country in the right direction for the benefit of every single Jamaican.
Good to see you, sir.
You
Thank
still
you.
playing music?
Absolutely. Music is food of life.
Yes, he's
Doctor,
a musician.
the Honorable-
Did you know that?
Very well.
Okay.
He's been on Smile Jamaica many times.
You should get some masterclass lessons
he's
from him
been
how
on
to
Smile
speak
Jamaica
in public.
many times.
He's doing. Listen,
Dr. the Honorable Nigel
listen.
Clarke, Minister of Finance and the Public Service. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Up
Thank
next,
you for
my
having me.
people, males. Oh Lord, it just gets depressing. Not male part, you know. Males and violence. Why are young men or men more prone to violence than women? We will have that honest and frank discussion right here on Smile Jamaica. We'll soon come.